delighted to say, and I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear, as always, commentator Sam Armstrong joins me once again on a Monday morning. Very good Monday morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Julia.
I don't even know where to start with the madness on migration. Whenever the government makes an announcement, either criticising, the Tories are usually criticising reform on the announcement. And let's face it, reform policy announcements last week went down very well with a lot of people. That's certainly right. Our audience, and absolutely with me. I have a funny feeling it's going to be where the Tories are going to be in 3 years' time anyway, kicking and screaming. Seems to be absolutely the right decision. Yep, sorry, bye-bye, you're all out. Bye. Done. Nada. We don't want you. The Tories didn't get to grips with this, but Labour, not only are they incapable in terms of competence of getting on top of into grips with this story, they don't even understand how big an issue this is. They think that if they genuinely think tinkering around with how much money or how well someone speaks English who's a relative of a successful asylum seeker is the big concern of the British people today, they're completely out of touch.
Julia, it's literally every single Monday I walk into this studio with you, and when we arrive here there is a press release from the Home Office which is yet another announcement claiming they're just about to solve migration. They've finally come up with this policy. Each and every one is rubbish. Each and every one is not worth the paper we have to unfortunately print them on. And if it keeps carrying on, I will bring into this studio a shredder, and every time that Yvette Cooper sends something through the mail to us, or through email these days, I'm going to run it through that shredder because it's nonsense, it's bunkum, and it is insulting to our audience, it's insulting to the British people, it's insulting to journalists and broadcasters like ourselves who have to discuss it.
Oh no, but the Sky and the BBC, they're being, oh well, this is a very sensible arrangement. It is. Absolutely. Oh no, they probably think it's too right-wing.
It is nonsense after nonsense after nonsense every week, and we have had it now for 25 years of mass migration into this country, and all around us, everywhere we go, we can see on the streets of this country the changes that have been made and change that has come for the worse because of the consequences of mass migration.
They've seen it in Italy, they've seen it in Greece, they've seen it in France, they've seen it in Germany, seen it in Austria, seen it in Sweden, seen it in Denmark, seen it, everywhere else. They've seen it in Ireland, they've seen it in USA. This is not some unique issue to Britain, but one of the points of Brexit, small point worth making, was that we got to decide what our governments did, and they couldn't blame the EU for anything. They are in charge of our borders. It is the #1 job of a government to maintain the borders. Second job, law and order. They're not doing that either, and keeping us safe in particular from people who have no right to be in this country. We've got enough of our own wrong-uns, thank you. We don't need anyone else's. There's some ongoing court cases of allegations involving people who've arrived here as asylum seekers. And again, we don't want to prejudice any trials going on, but that was what sparked a lot of the concerns from local people, whether it's in Epping, whether it's elsewhere. Now, in Nuneaton, in Warwickshire as well. But look, this is the thing. When they talk about these, when they make these announcements, it betrays the fact that they genuinely don't understand the scale of the problem. They don't understand people's concerns. When they talk about, and Labour, and Tories did this as well originally, but Labour in particular about this, when they talk about getting people out of hotels, but then mount a legal case against getting people out of the Epping Hotel, the Bell Hotel in Epping, and we'll talk to a local reform candidate there, Orla, later in the show. But when they talk about that, to move these people into, for instance, 300 grand houses with underfloor heating, no longer available to local people to buy or rent, that betrays that, we're not saying, oh, we just don't want them all in one place. I would argue, actually, I'd rather have them in one place where people knew where they were, rather than, for instance, a 3-bedroom house for a family next door to me or something, suddenly having 10 young men from Afghanistan, Syria, Eritrea, or from wherever, we don't know, they didn't bring their ID with them, living in bedsits next door, and a completely different lifestyle from a family, for instance. Now, I would personally prefer they were in a hotel, but I would rather they weren't anywhere in this country. But if they were going to be somewhere, can they please be in a secure camp somewhere where they can't walk along the street? Now, this is an idea that large parts of our political and media class, me saying that makes me a racist, a bigot, a xenophobe, ignorant, a threat to society. I'm basically, far right for saying all of that. I don't think that is either far right, bigoted, or anything. I don't even think it's a minority view in this country. I think the majority of people in this country and I think on the left and right now, think this is all insane. But the media and political classes are still living in the cloud cuckoo, Ramona, Blairite era, all of them, thinking that, well, if we just don't have it on the front pages, and if that awful Nigel Farage man would stop talking about it, it would all go away. It isn't going to go away until the illegal migrants go away.
Yeah, and do you know what it's not about? It's not about Keir Starmer's number 10 press office and who's running the show for Downing Street Communications. When Peter Mandelson, who actually knew a thing or two, said it's almost never the communications, it's the policy behind it. And we now have a Prime Minister who's had more churn in his top team than Boris. We've got borrowing costs that are higher than they were under Liz Truss, and we've got migration higher than it was under Rishi Sunak. They have taken the worst of dregs of the Tory party's approach to government, combined them all together and delivered it up to the British public, and are expecting us to turn around and be thankful for them.
It's quite a feat, isn't it? Well, let's talk about that reshuffle. I mean, you know, just pop to the loo, go and put some toast on. I mean, you know, we'll do it briefly, I promise you. We're not, I mean, I can see, I've got, you know, bank of TV screens, and they're all talking about a load of people which most people have never heard of. I've heard of these people, I've met a lot of these people. I'm still not that interested, you know, I'm going to be honest. But there are some interesting things in terms of what's going on in the press office. Now, James Lyons, he's leaving as the Director of Communications, brackets, strategy, close brackets, after just a year. He replaced Matthew Doyle, who left earlier this year. I mean, he cannot, this is a Prime Minister who either cannot keep senior staff, whether it's Chief of Staff, whether it's Director of Communications, he cannot keep people, or they're not up to the job. But one of the people he's bringing in as the government's executive director of communications, working with the existing director of communications. I mean, everyone's got an important job title, haven't they? And I'm sure they're on great big salaries. Is Tim Allen. Now, Tim Allen worked for Tony Blair ahead of getting elected, but he never worked in government. He then went off and made silly sums of money as a lobbyist. All credit to him. But again, is the issue the communication, or is it that your policies are all dire and you don't know what you're doing? In terms of what's happening so far, in terms of a reshuffle of his top team, Darren Jones, he was Chief Secretary to Treasury. That's basically number 2 to the Chancellor. He's going to become Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, so working directly for the Prime Minister. James Murray he becomes Chief Secretary to the Treasury, taking that old job. Dan Tomlinson becomes Exchequer Secretary to replace. I mean, there's just a bit of a shuffle around. It's a shuffle around of, frankly, some quite nondescript people who most people have never heard of. I don't think any of this is going to pass muster. The people want reshuffled is the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. I mean, those are the two people. If you look, there's a poll out, was it yesterday? Was it 6 out of 10 people think that Rachel Reeves should be out of a job? I mean, you know, this isn't going to cut the mustard. And this is literally rearranging the rather tediously dull, uninformed, not very charismatic, not very competent deck chairs on the Titanic of this government, and then hoping things are going to turn out different.
There's no doubt the Prime Minister's got a problem with his Chancellor. The public don't trust her, the markets don't trust her, her own backbenchers don't trust her.
And we don't trust her CV.
Well, quite. However, I want to give the Prime Minister a little bit of credit here, which is, I don't actually think, in a sense, much of this is his fault. Every single Tory, and I'll say this why, every single Tory minister, Prime Minister, number 10 special advisor I speak to says exactly the same thing, which is the entire British state doesn't do what Prime Ministers want.
This is true.
They all come into government and they think all of a sudden they're in power, and then they realise that the civil service aren't doing it, nothing is working.
The civil service is sort of on side with a lot of things Labour wants to do. Yeah, ramp up the welfare state, give asylum to everyone in the whole world.
But they don't want to do the absolutely massive things that needs to be changed. And Keir Starmer...
But neither does Keir Starmer.
Keir Starmer is the great kind of saint figure of this dying system of the way the British government has been run for 30, 40 years. And I really do think that this reshuffle today is the death rattle of a broken system of government. And we see in the Times today that Jack Straw, former Labour Home Secretary, coming out and saying, look, I actually think we could leave the ECHR. We're seeing Lord Blunkett saying the same things. Increasingly,
Jack Straw, we'll talk about, temporarily, suspending it.
Increasingly, we are seeing the fact that everybody, left, right, the elite, are waking up to the fact that the way that this country is governed hasn't worked. The British public won't wear it. And if they want to cling on to power, as I believe they do desperately, they don't want to let Nigel Farage into Downing Street, they're going to have to change something quickly.
I think they have neither the ability nor the will to actually do what is necessary, which is why I offered my services last week to Nigel Farage on a non-party. I will not be a member of any political parties. No political party can fully sign up to, although there are political parties I have more in common with, rather obviously, than others. I don't see the Greens asking for my services anytime soon. But at the end of the day, I just don't think they are competent. I think one of the fascinating things about this new Labour government, it's still relatively new, a year and a bit, is how surprised they were by how hard it is to govern. And, you have to make nasty choices and you're going to upset people and someone's not going to like it on either the left or the right. And they are facing the challenge from reform in a lot of their red wall seats. They're facing there's a sort of challenge in the Tories. There are a lot of people who might go, oh, this lot are even worse than the Tories, I'll go back to the Tories. But also, hilariously, this challenge from Jeremy Corbyn's new party, the Your Party, what the hell he's calling it this week. Hilarious. I'm sorry, I loved this revelation at the weekend. Pretty obvious, really, that by reducing the voting age to 16, that a lot of those 16 and 17-year-olds, the party they're most likely to vote for, Jeremy Corbyn's party. So Labour are they are absolutely being squeezed between a rock and a hard place. But I think they are emotionally, intellectually and practically philosophically incapable of doing what is necessary to be done, because fundamentally they don't think the system is broken. They want to pretend to put a plaster on what they're going to pretend is the problem, like loads of these people are coming over in boats and they're getting asylum, and then they're bringing over 12 members of their family, but if only they brought over 6 members of their family and they all spoke better English, then that would be fine and the British people wouldn't have a problem with it. They don't get it. And you can't solve a problem if you don't understand what the problem is. This is like getting in a plumber who thinks the problem is your dripping tap as opposed to, the water that's pouring out of a pipe underneath. And he's going, let me just change the washer in that tap, all sorted. And the rest of the country's going, there's water all over the floor from the big burst pipe down there. They don't see the burst pipe. And anyone pointing out the burst pipe is a bigot.
In fact, I think it even goes worse than that. And there's one thing that worries me more than anything at the moment, which is this country has never felt more fragile, more febrile, more devoid of trust in every institution, the police, our government and everything. And we stand on the precipice, I fear, and every smart person in the city I speak to says exactly the same. We stand on the precipice of a massive economic shock in the next couple of years. It's costing the government, it's technical, but it costs the government so much more to borrow than it's ever had before. There is no money left. It
doesn't cost the government, it costs us.
The Labour Party have made clear they're not prepared to cut welfare. They can't cut defence. We need to spend more on defence, not less. They're not prepared to cut just about anything. They've already squeezed the farmers. They've done everything possible. We're going to have massive tax rises, all of which is going to have the effect of sending this economy into a downward spiral. And we know that when that kind of event happens, that all of the pressures on society get higher and higher and higher and higher. And this time, I can genuinely see this country bursting in the next year or so, in which a massive totemic crash of public support for the institutions that make up this society.
I know an awful lot of people who I would consider to be really very moderate people in terms of their views from a range of different political parties, who are now at the point where not only do they expect there to be some level of mass protest rioting on the streets, they would welcome it. I know a number of people who've said to me, I think that's what the country needs. Now, I don't think it is what the country needs. I would like our governments and opposition, everyone, to tackle the issues. It's not us. It's not what we do in this country. We didn't riot when they tried to stop Brexit from happening. We're not French, exactly. No, but it's true. But I really do think that there are a lot of people saying maybe that's going to be the wake-up call. But I mean, I think it'll just lead to a load of people who write things on Facebook getting imprisoned, as opposed to the government recognising it. And I think, seriously, put your flags up, wear your flag with pride, protest peacefully outside any migrant hotel or any government office or MP's office that you want. I complete, as long as it's peaceful, non-threatening, but don't give them an inch. Do not let them say that you're a yob or you're dangerous or give them any excuse for the sort of crackdowns. We've got to be better than them. We've got to be better than them and rise above that. Talking of being better than them, can we talk about Greta? Greta's got off to Gaza again. Good God. There was the most extraordinary coverage in, was it Barcelona, when they set off. A bunch of preening people. I mean, they're literally the ghastliest people on the planet. I mean, I'm pondering, would I rather be in a room with people from Hamas or from the flotilla from Gaza, to Gaza? And it's touch and go. But I would really love that flotilla to be delivered directly to Gaza. The Israelis have said this time round, instead of just getting them in their waters, again, dispute over was it international or not international waters, and just sort of, you know, deporting them, they might actually put them in quite a serious prison, along with terrorists and serious criminals. Is that a good idea? Is that yet another propaganda fail, or PR fail on the part of Israel?
Well, look, there's part of me that says, do you know what? That's exactly what she wants. Greta says that she's mates with all this Hamas lot. Let's see how she does on a wing of grown Hamas terrorists for a couple of weeks.
Bearing in mind, they'll all know, oh no, this woman helps us. They'll despise her. I mean, they'll utterly despise her. She wears T-shirts and things like that. She doesn't cover herself
Julia,
up.
These people will have no idea who she is, right? This isn't for them. It's not for the Palestinian people. This is all about Greta. Greta Thunberg knows precisely as much about Gaza as she did about the climate.
Yeah, I know.
Zip, zilch, zero. This is a professional protester that has got rich, that has built herself an international media career by travelling around the world doing one thing: supporting causes that hate the Western world.
The latest fashionable cause.
But they all have this in common, Julia. Yeah. She's supporting terrorist organisations that want to destroy the West.
Well, she had a T-shirt on saying, we are all Palestine Action. Palestine Action is a prescribed terror organisation in this country.
But she also supports climate change efforts that would destroy the Western economy, that would place all of these countries in the lead. This is someone whose prime motivating fear is a hatred of her own country and the alliances that it has formed.
I'm putting it this way. Putin, Xi Jinping and the mullahs in Iran and the terrorists, well, what's left of the terrorist leaders in Hamas, they're all on on Greta's side. I'm thinking maybe you might not be the goodie, maybe you might be the baddie in this scenario.
Why do we think that Putin has been proved again and again to fund the environmental movement?
Yep.
This is exactly what he wants. We are playing into our enemies, and those on the other mainstream news channels that buy the bunkum that she comes out with are...
But also, again and again, all it keeps being asked, you know, about October the 7th, you know, she just will not condemn what happened on October the 7th. How easy is it for anyone to condemn what happened on October the 7th? And how easy it is for anyone to say Hamas is a terrorist group who need to return the hostages? No, she still thinks they're a resistance group. If you think they're a resistance group rather than terrorists, you're on the wrong side of history, sweetheart. And you know, have a lovely, lovely boat trip. And I'm sure it will go terribly, terribly well. And I'm sure the poor, long-suffering folk of Gaza will be so, so grateful for everything you've done for them with those 2 packets of rice that you turn up with.